the NBA trade deadline, well, it's come and gone, and your Spurs did absolutely nothing.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're in the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hope you're having a great day. As always, thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first and only spot for all things silver and black. Subscribe, iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube. Go do that ASAP. We definitely appreciate it. Thank you for making the Locked On Sports Podcast Network #1 in this nation. What are we talking about today? We're going to be looking at the Spurs and the NBA trade deadline, or actually, should I say, nothing happening. Why didn't the Spurs make a move? Why didn't Sohan get moved? Will he get moved? Are there any options the Spurs can look in that direction? And then in time permitting, we'll get into some Locked On Spurs fan comments coming up right here on Locked On Spurs. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, you can bet just $5. You get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Let's go to bring in our guest, everybody. He is back to close out the week here. Mr. Rudy Campos of Box Score Studio. He's on X at Box Score Studio. More on that later. Rudy, you'd be happy to know you did not get traded from Box Score or from Locked On Spurs.
I'm glad, even though I know how much Locked On fans hate me for whatever reason.
They don't hate you. You just got some hot takes sometimes.
Well, are they really hot takes or are they honest takes?
And there's a difference, yeah.
Everyone honest.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Well, as I mentioned to start the show, Rudy, the NBA trade deadline has come and gone, and barring any paperwork that got submitted before the buzzer, your San Antonio Spurs did nothing. There was no move, not even a minor move, not even a move in a Jordan McLaughlin, nothing. As the young Spurs fans say, they love the team they have, and that showed it right there. Jeremy Sochan, many thought that he would be moved before the trade deadline, and nothing happened. Again, as of this recording, and if the Spurs did submit any paperwork prior to the buzzer. So before we get into Sohan, let's just our overall thoughts here. First of all, I am not surprised the Spurs did not make any move. I thought maybe, just maybe, because this is a different regime. Brian Wright has shown that he's, been able to wheel and deal since he took over as the GM. Then maybe we'll see something, anything. Maybe getting a couple second-round picks, though that NBA currency. But to my surprise, no move was made. So I am not surprised the Spurs didn't make any blockbuster move. I did not expect them to go after Giannis, and that was shot down via reports. I didn't expect any James Harden or Porzingis or any of the big names you saw moved. So that I'm not surprised about. But Rudy, I am surprised about there were no minors move made. Kelly Olynyk in the expiring deal could have fetched you some first round, maybe late first rounders, second rounders. As mentioned, McLaughlin or Waters. I thought Waters might have been involved because he all of a sudden was on the IR list just out of nowhere. And I said, oh, there's something there. And then nothing. Are you more surprised the Spurs didn't make any big move? Or are you more surprised that the Spurs didn't make any minor moves?
Actually, it's neither for me. I'm not surprised about anything. As far as big moves go, it's kind of history with the Spurs, man. They don't really make big splash type moves or anything like that at the trade deadline. Very, very, very rare. I mean, what's the biggest one they've made that we can remember right away? I know for me, the first one is Alvin Robertson, Harry Cummings was back from the way day. I'm sure they made other moves like that, but not anything huge, not anything massive. Now, minor moves, I'm not shocked by it because even though, Kelly Olynyk can fetch you a few second-round draft picks, look at the value of it. I mean, again, we've always talked about Victor not being able to stay healthy in his career. So Olynyk kind of becomes that playoff push type of guy where if something happens at the end of the season, you have a backup center, you have a veteran, you have a guy that's even, to the final runs and everything. So I'm okay with them keeping Olynyk, and I don't think he's worth 2 second-round draft picks. When you look at the value of it, the one guy I really looked at was Sohan. You saw during some of the warm-ups, some of the practices that they had recently, he just looks checked out, and he doesn't look like he wants to be a part of the team anymore. I figured, if there was one guy that was guaranteed to be moved, it was Jeremy. But at the same time, Jeff, other reports were saying New York and, this team right here, those teams that were going to send players the Spurs way made other moves with those players. So once we started to see that happen, pretty much felt like Jeremy was going to stay a Spur. And I mean, now the second half of the season, it's just the question is, does he remain on the Spurs for the playoff push?
Yeah. More on Sohan in just a few seconds. But as far as the Spurs making no moves right now, it could be, if we're reading the tea leaves here, it could be just the sense of them liking the team they have. Why mess that up? Why disrupt something that's doing good right now? Look at their record. Look at some of the statistical categories where they rank high in defensive numbers, to the middle of the pack, to the upper portion when it comes to offense. They're doing well right now. You can't argue with the proof in the pudding. The proof is second best record in the West, one of the best records in the NBA. So there's that. So that could have been their approach. Why disrupt something as far as making a major move? Because that would have been involving guys like perhaps a Steph Castle, maybe a young Dylan Harper, Keldon, Devin. You definitely would have seen some sort of like that name. So those major moves you did not expect because of what the price tag would mean. Now, the minor moves, I thought if anything, Rudy, they would chase a sniper. Luke Kennard goes to the Lakers for what? Gabe Vincent? I think the Spurs could have done something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, something like that could have been done. But, I think, again, it's, you're giving up, Gabe Vincent for Luke Kennard. I understand. Spurs could have probably done a whole lot more with that. But we don't know which, we don't know who was actually in favor of getting a player from the Spurs. There was a player the Spurs had that nobody wanted. So there's a reason why they didn't trade for a Luke Kennard or even a Gabe Vincent, who can be a very good streaky shooter. There's two sides to both two sides of the table here. The Spurs may want a player, the other team may not want a player, or they may not like some of the picks the Spurs are offering for them. So it's just a matter of fit and a matter of feel when it comes to a trade. I mean, I think the best part about all this is now you have what's called like the secondary part of the season where you go from the trade deadline. Now you go to the guys that are going to be released, that were traded. They're going to be released. They're going to be available for a lot of other teams to pick up. Chris Middleton being one of them. Pat Connaughton just got released recently. So, I mean, these are guys that now they've already got that upfront money, that guarantee. They're going to be looking to join a winning organization like where San Antonio is right now. So it might be a benefit that you didn't move off some of the picks, maybe some of the players, because now you can go into that secondary market and get you a sniper on the secondary market now.
Yeah, Connaughton would fit that bill. Also, during this recording, it was announced via ESPN that a guy like Cam Thomas, the Nets had waived him. Another kind of swing guy. I don't know if that's an
huge release right there.
Yeah, that's huge. That Cam Thomas got released. So I don't know if those Spurs chase that. Yeah, I think what we're going to see now is the Spurs active in the secondary. Well, the second part of the trade deadline, which is the back end, the waiver wire. I think that's where you'll probably see the Spurs make moves. You've got to figure that's where they're eyeing. They just want to see who gets cast aside and who could they pick up. And we already have a couple of options right there, Cam Thomas and or Connaughton. I think that'll fit. Connaughton, though, that defense is suspect, though. I wouldn't be surprised if the Spurs' defensive measurements dip a bit if he joins San Antonio.
Nobody plays defense anymore, Jeff. Apparently.
Yeah, I guess so. We're too old school, man. We're too old in the 80s and 90s where they just pummel people. That was defense right there. Rudy, you look at the Spurs team, and let's just say they do not make any move, not even get involved in the waiver wire, because they get involved in they technically have a spot open now, Rudy, with David Jones-Garcia shelved for the season due to an injury. So there is a spot open there. So they don't have to really disrupt any type of flow by telling Lindy Waters or McLaughlin, bye-bye. They can bring in somebody else. Are you expecting them to chase a shooter or just chase a 3-and-D kind of guy? This season's heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes it the entire season so much fun. Because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out, right? Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need dessert, like now. Those late-night interview hits? Well, suddenly you need chips at midnight, right? DoorDash is built exactly for that. And if group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure you showed up prepared. Snacks, cups, even a phone charger for the friend who always at 2%. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash, in your bag all season long.
Hey, let's talk about Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look to the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is just one of the quickest upgrades you can make. And that is why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one spot, you're just not just working cleaner. You're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees full conversation threads, which makes replies faster and more personal. It works right from your phone or computer, and you can even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps so details never slip through the crack. It's no surprise Quo is the number one rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this a year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers.
That's a good question. I could be either or. If I had to pick one, it's probably going to be a shooter, I think.
Yeah, me too.
You can never have enough shooting in today's NBA. It's always good to have more than not have enough. So I think they go with the shooter. As far as 3-and-D guy goes, it's kind of hard to measure that because we don't know who's exactly going to be available. We already know a few guys are available that can score the basketball and that can shoot it. So the 3-and-D type of players, I think with the emergence of Carter Bryant these last couple of games, there's kind of your 3-and-D guy heading in to the second half of the season. So I think for me, it's going to be just the shooter part. They need to concentrate on getting someone who can score the ball, who can shoot the ball. Some of the guys we mentioned a little while ago, those guys would be perfect. But that's where I think they have their eyes set. They know they need shooting, so I think that's where they go from here on out.
Yeah. I'm unsure that Cam Thomas thing though, but that's interesting. It's a good
That's
player.
a very good one to look at. Let's be real. There's going to be 29 other teams going after Cam. So 28, not the team that released him, but 28 other teams who are probably going to be interested in Cam Thomas.
Yeah, and I don't know if the Spurs should dive into the Middleton thing. I think his best days are all but over.
Well, it's not. I wouldn't so much take that away from from off the table because Spurs have always had success finding guys towards the back part of their career. Steve Smith was, a valuable piece. Michael Finley was a valuable piece. A lot of these older veteran guys have come in, and what do they all have in common? They've all been a part of championship contending teams. Yes. They always know how to make a point. Terry Porter back in the day with the first round of the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, these guys have come in. They provided veteran leadership. They provided scoring in some opportunities where they've needed scoring. So if it's a cheap deal for Middleton, I'm not opposed to it. You just need him to maybe just be a shooter out on the perimeter. You're not asking for a whole lot. So I wouldn't take that deal off the table.
Yeah. We'll see what the Spurs do. But, for sure, I think ultimately at the end of the day, the Spurs were not going to make a major blockbuster move. We knew that going into the trade deadline. So check. I'm just a little surprised there wasn't a minor move made. Again, like a Luke Kennard kind of deal. Again, I think you could have given up something on the roster, given the Lakers. Oh, it is. I'm sorry, not the Lakers. Who was he with? Who's Kennard with again? Because Lakers sent Gabe Vince. Yeah. Either way, the point is for what what the Lakers gave up to get Kennard, the Spurs could have done that as well. That's my whole point there. But if one move that we thought was going to happen, and we had it all pretty much all but signed, sealed, delivered, was this guy seeing your screen. For those who are not watching on YouTube, it is Jeremy Sochan. Many felt that he would be perhaps the lone move the Spurs make at the deadline. Now, again, the Spurs technically still could do something if they submitted their paperwork before the deadline. So that's still a possibility. But as of this recording, it's over. Nothing at all. Mm-hmm. He's still a Spur. They got to do something with him. Now, they can buy him out and throw him in the waiver wire, which I think that's an option right there.
Yeah.
Or he rides out the season and then they let him walk in the offseason, or he and the Spurs see what his market rate is, and if the Spurs can match it, so be it. If not, then it was good knowing you, number 10. Are you surprised he's still a Spur right now?
Yeah, I think I am. I'll put it this way. I'm surprised, but not by much. I think when you and I last talked, I think we had mentioned that it wouldn't be shocking if he remained a Spur and didn't get traded. I think we said it would be more shocking if he made it to the playoff roster at the end of the season if he's still a Spur. That would be more shocking and more surprising to me than if he did. But, he's still a Spur. As of this recording, he's still a Spur. I don't know if there was any paperwork ever turned in for it. So he's still a Spur. And I think what happens, in my opinion, is that he probably ends up getting bought out. And the only reason why he would get bought out is if they have another guy coming in, like we're missing some of these waiver wire guys that are going to help him in that playoff push. So I think if that happens, he gets bought out and they kind of just wipe their hands clean. Both parties are in agreement to, just go part ways, and then he'll maybe join another team, maybe for a playoff push with them, maybe just to join another roster till the end of the season. But surprised that he's not been moved. I'm a little surprised. I think at this point you would have figured they would have tried to just get anything for Jeremy. But again, we don't know how other teams felt about Jeremy on the market. I mean, the Spurs may have been asking for 2 second-round picks and that's it. But sometimes the team looks at Jeremy and says, hey, you know what? I love the game. I think he can fit. But they always go back to there's that one word. I think he can fit. He may not have been able to fit well on some of these teams because a lot of teams that he was rumored to made a bunch of moves. So that kind of maybe pointed that we can maybe do better without working with Jeremy on our team.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. I really thought he was going to get moved. New York was the name that popped up. Phoenix was the name that popped up, mainly New York. But after the Knicks dealt Yasabule, I figured it was over because that was perhaps maybe the only piece the Spurs could have gotten for Sohan from the Knicks roster. All in all, I am just really intrigued what they're going to do with him. I mean, are they going to let him languish on the bench for the rest of the season? I think as a professional player that he is, a competitor, I don't think he wants that option. So I'm leaning towards he gets bought out. He gets bought out and get waived. Look, the Spurs, they even bought out and waived LaMarcus Aldridge. They bought him out, and he moved on. He wasn't happy with his role in San Antonio, and they just let him go, and he ended up going to Brooklyn. So not out of the realm possibility of the Spurs to do this. I just think he needs a change of address. You see him on the roster or / bench. He's engaged with his teammates. He's having fun with them, but his usage rate is plummeted. His stats are low. Mm-hmm. He's still young. He's his early 20s. He can definitely fit on a team elsewhere. So if the Spurs do waive him, then do you think Brian Wright will get cooked for not getting something for him via trade?
No. I mean, I hate the fact that we see a lot of social media posts and a lot of fans, get upset at these GMs as if they're not trying. I mean, nobody's behind that closed door unless you're a part of the team. So you have no idea who he's trying to trade, who he's trying to get. There may have been packages, there may have been calls. And it may have been, we're almost there. We just need this. But then you have to look at it. A GM's job is to not only make a good deal for the team, but it's also to make sure your future isn't, really a jeopardy. We've seen that with Dallas most recently. So it's a tough job. I'm not saying that he should get cooked at all. I don't ever believe in that. But, who's to say that a deal wasn't on the table? And at the end of the day, who's to say Mitch didn't tell Brian Rowe to talk to him and says, look, I think there could be a role for Jeremy here throughout the season because come playoff time, there could be a playoff matchup that we're looking at that we could use him on. So we don't know these conversations. And that's where I have to defend the Spurs front office on that. And again, fans may not like it, but if you really just sit back and understand it and really look at the bigger picture, there could have been deals on the table. We just don't know. And you know what? We'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know. And just the fit's not there anymore for Sohan. It isn't. He doesn't spread the floor. But the only value that I see for this Spurs team is something that they've lacked recently. That is physicality. You need physicality. You can't get more physical than him. A guy likes to mix it up. So there's a role there. And he's still a spark plug. He's still an energy. If he stays on the roster till the end of the season, there's his role right there. You don't expect him to handle the ball. Don't expect him to run the fast break, as a point guard, that experiment. Don't expect him to knock down threes. If he goes out there, keep your expectations at this. He's going to do a little bit of everything. He's going to give you a few rebounds. He's going to give you a few steals, give you a couple of layups, some dunks here. Obviously try to mix it up with the opponent, and that's about it. And that's it. That's who Jeremy Sochan is at this point. As a Spur, who knows if he shifts addresses, then he flourishes, and hopefully it does.
Can I ask you a quick question on the Sohan thing?
It's the last call for football for FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's a perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, just bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because the Super Bowl, that's it. Season's over. Last call for football on FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Let me ask you, because I like to put a little bit of hot sauce on certain topics here. But if he was drafted later in the first round, where Malachi Branham or Blake Wesley was, is there a different expectation of him?
No. I think what happened was he was a top 10 pick, right? He went number 9, right?
I mean, he was a lottery pick, and
he's a lottery pick.
I know I didn't have him as a lot. I had him late first round, definitely second round.
Yep.
So I mean, I don't know, because of where he was drafted, maybe fans are more like, we expect this much from you, when he never really was supposed to be that type of player.
Mm-hmm. Another option the Spurs can do is, see what the market gives him if he enters the offseason as a Spur and then restricted free agency. We'll see what numbers he gets. When the Spurs can match. And I don't think he should. Yes, he's going to get paid. Look, I wish we all could get paid, even as the last guy on the bench in the NBA. But he's going to get an offer. But I think that's where we'll see where the Spurs gauge his value to the team moving forward. Look, they already set a signal already. They didn't re-up him to start the season. So there's that. So if that gives you an idea where they see his fit in the long term, then maybe it's not that good. But yeah, I think that will probably be these will probably be the next two dominoes to fall. They pick up somebody in the waiver wire. There's already some names out there. Rudy's mentioned the Middleton. I mentioned Cam Thomas. There's probably going to be a lot of other eye-opening names that pop up over the next few days. And then the next one is what they do with Sohan. Again, wouldn't be surprised if they waive him for nothing. That's what bothers me the most. We know that his days in San Antonio is over, but to not get anything, something, I think that, we could have gone a different direction. You think he nets you, if you were to do a trade with him, does it give you at least 2 second rounders?
I mean,
what do you think his value is?
You would hope so. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, in some instances, second round picks are kind of valuable to a lot of teams, because it's kind of those throw-in picks that'll get a deal done later on. So some teams are looking at it like, well, Jeremy in hindsight is worth at least 2 second round picks. Yeah, but what if I have an opportunity to get a potential all-star player and I have to add those 2 second-round picks in there. Well, I'd rather go that route to give me a guarantee type of player. So, I mean, second-round picks is as useless as a lot of people say that they are. They're actually not useless at all. They are pretty darn valuable. So he's worth that. But, I mean, you just mentioned a little while ago, you would hate to give him up for nothing. So remember, the Spurs gave up LaMarcus Aldridge, who was an all-star, one of their better players, for nothing because they bought him out. So it happens all the time in the NBA. And if he gets bought out and he joins another team, it's just kind of a wash your hands with it and move on from it.
Yeah, I think there is a deadline where players have to latch on to a team that's in the postseason, right? Because there's a rule, I think it's deep in the season where this says, okay,
Yeah, I believe so.
you can't sign with in playoff bound teams. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the game right here with Sohan. It's like, hey, we're gonna let you go so the trade deadline is over. And then that's where you can latch on to a postseason bound team and not get stuck in that point in the season where you can't. So perhaps that's them doing him a solid right there. But man, imagine him going to Phoenix and then him biting this in the butt as revenge game in the playoffs. Can you imagine that?
Wouldn't be the first time that it happened in any sports. So it wouldn't be the first time.
It would not be the first time. All right, so we got some time for some Locked On Spurs fan comments. It's been a long time. Yes, I know, everybody. I know. We've been putting this off. We got the deadline. The Spurs season is rolling on, but we got a little time right here. So let's see.
Am I the only one that gets fan comments? Because they always tend to cook me on these.
Well, yeah, you did get cut.
Exactly.
You did.
I always get the fan comments. I don't think any other guests ever get fan comments, but
yeah. All right, so we got a comment here from Texas Longhorns fan. He is just commenting on a recent episode of Locked On, actually yesterday's, where me and James Pledger at San Antonio Sports Star were looking at the West landscape, saying like how now Utah, all of a sudden, Rudy, is now a player in the West. They vaulted themselves into that position where you can't ignore them moving forward anymore. So Texas Longhorns fan commented this. Interesting how Utah is building a super tall starting lineup. Their front line is 6'10", and 7 foot. End comment there. So I think what Longhorn fan is kind of imply is Spurs, you got to beef it up a bit. You think, where do you stand with Utah now after they added Triple J? And do the Spurs have now kind of lack size in a bigger West?
That's a great question by him. And I would say first that, when you are the son of Danny Ainge, who's put together many championship rosters, his son is doing a great job in Utah. And the one thing I will say as far as the big lineup goes, Walker Kessler maybe moved in the offseason, so he kind of got to probably look at that happening. But if it doesn't, he's built a really good front court. Markkanen, Jackson, and Kessler. That's going to be a really dominant front court right there. The Spurs being a little behind, I would say maybe so. It's hard to say. I mean, again, we don't know exactly what's going to happen going into the next season. They could sign another young big man, but what I look at with Utah is the fact that they're probably going to shut Jerry Jackson Jr. down for the season. They're probably going to still be losing a bunch of games to end the season. So then you throw a top 3 potential pick in there, top 4 potential pick in this draft right now. That gets a lot more scarier if you had a Peterson, possibly even an AJ Devanza to go along with Ace Bailey and a lot of other guys they have. Utah became scary overnight, and next season might be a team to watch.
They did, yeah. They're a player now. Maybe they're not there yet, but a Triple J, Markkanen, Keontae George. I mean, just that 3 right there is really going to be a handful for the West. So we'll see what the Spurs do to counter that, if anything at all. All right, so since you're the guest today, and I figure you've been mentioning Chris Middleton, somebody does agree with you, Rudy. This is from William Johnson, 7127. He says, Chris Middleton is going to get bought out. That would be a veteran sharp shooter you can get at close to the veteran minimum who will fill that shooting need for 24 minutes a game. That's a lot. That's if they don't make any trades, which they didn't. All right, so somebody's agreeing with you. Chris Middleton is probably the one to go with. But I don't know about 24 minutes a game. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it'd be 24 minutes a game. For me, if I'm looking at it, I love Middleton signing. Again, he's a sharpshooter. You wouldn't need him to do much other than kind of count out. Similar to like, I'm gonna throw names out here, Jaron Jackson Sr., or Roger Mason, Gary Neal, somebody like that. Somebody give you a quick jump shot here and there from beyond the arc, but 24 minutes a game. I would have Middleton right around that 12 to 14 minutes a game. Just kind of give you that 3 minutes here, 3 minutes there. Do something like that, but not 24 minutes, because then if he's playing 24 minutes, then I think the Spurs roster is in bad shape due to injury, and that's something you don't want to see. But no, I mean, he's going to cost you the veteran minimum. He's coming off, if he gets bought out, he's going to pay for that buyout, so he's not looking to make all.
He's going to be okay, everybody.
Yeah. So I think I like the comment. I just don't know about the minute part. I think it'd be more around a 12 to 14 minutes per game.
Yeah. We'll see what the Spurs do in the waiver wire. I guess still strap in because you never know, a move can be made out of the Spurs waiver player, or they bring in a waived player. He is Mr. Rudy Campos with Box Score Studio. Follow him on X at Box Score Studio. Do it right now. There you can find out all the information that you need about Box Score Studio and so much more. Rudy, I know you're pressed for time. Thank you so much for joining us here on Locked On Spurs.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Jeff.
Anytime. Everybody else, thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts. You know what to do. Go subscribe ASAP. Don't forget to join the NBA Everyday Club. Just go to lockedonpodcast.com/everyday club. Ad-free Locked On Spurs shows of access only, Discord channel, so much more. Go sign up. We'll be back on Monday as the Spurs season continues. So for Mr. Rudy Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.